Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leathercraft, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a Leather Element, drop it in the comment box below. Now this week we're going to talk about sharpening 7 basic shop tools. Now, I've been dragging my feet on this one because putting a razor sharp professional edge on anything is just beyond my skill set, and you may very well feel the same way. So what we're going to do, we're simply going to use a strop and some compound. That's going to give us a good clean edge on 7 common shop tools. Now, one of these tools is one we don't really think about sharpening, but it's a big help. All right, let's do this. Let's step over to our pattern table. We're going to look at 3 products that are going to make sharpening our tools quick and easy. Now, it's going to be a little bit of a sales pitch here, but you'll see where I'm going with this. Now, I've got these strops all over my shop. Problem is, I can't ever find one when I'm looking for one. So we've got 2 answers to that. First off, look at the strop board. That is not a dinky little craft store strop board by any means. We've got our skive or our flesh side here. Then we've got our top grain on this side. Cool thing about this, I can hang this on the wall of my shop. I always know where it is. All right, jumping over to this strop board. Now, with this, all of our edges, we've got a concaved inside cutting edge, and we'll get a better look at that. But what's going to happen here is I can't strop flat. It's not going to do any good. So we've got some leather on edge. I can drop in my compound. We'll talk about that here in a second. And I can simply run my edger down that. That's going to get in that concaved area, give me a good sharp edge. All right, what I'm going to place on this. I like the Jeweler's Rouge, just the basic white compound. Works well for me. But we've got 5 levels of compound all the way up to the polishing agent. So if you really want to take that blade further, you absolutely can. So let's do this. Let's take both of these. We're going to jump over to our main table and use both strops for sharpening our tools. Now we're going to start with our groover because this is one of the tools we don't necessarily think about sharpening, but it's a huge help, right? So what I've got here, let's flip this around. I'm going to add some good rouge right down the edge of my strop. Let's take our groover. Now we would normally butt our guide against our edge and draw that forward. Let's do this. Let's go backwards across our strop and let's see how this does. Clean that off a little bit. Guide against the edge. Oh, very nice. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And look at that. I can almost cut right through that leather. Smooth and easy, okay? So let's step over now to our edgers. Now this is funny because this is one of those cheap edgers. We probably all got one. We most likely lament that we ever purchased this, okay? Here's the reason. Okay, what a mess. And if you felt that, bad edger, probably not going to be able to bring that back. But let's do this. Let's jump over to one of our edgers, one of our master tools. Let's draw this down our strop a few times. Notice too, I'm kind of rolling this as I move along. So therefore I get a good clean edge. All right, let's see the difference here. Look at that. Takes almost no pressure, clean and consistent every time. All right, one more way to sharpen these. And in fact, let's get a good look at one of these. You'll notice right there we've got, the very end we've got that inside cutting edge. So it's a little bit tough to get to. But let's do this. Here's one other trick. Now I've got a nail here and there on my work table, specifically for this reason. I can hook a piece of our large hand stitching thread. Let's take some of our rouge, run that on the thread, and now I'm going to take my edger and I'm going to draw this towards me, straddling my wax thread. There we go. And that'll get deep down in there, particularly on our smaller edgers. Let's see how that did for us. Perfect. That's just what I'm looking for. One more edger we're going to look at, a bisonet or bisonet. Actually, I'm not really sure how that's pronounced. But the cool thing here, same set of instructions for sharpening. But the cool thing here is I can draw or push. Very cool. It's a good edger. Good edger. All right, let's move on. We're going to jump over to our chisels. Very useful tool in our shop. Absolutely. Do a lot of hand sewing. Simple enough. With our strop, I can simply drag this across. Now, our angle, you know what? I'm not going to get down to specifics like that. What I can do is simply draw. I can feel my finger on my strop. So therefore, flip, flip. There we go. Now I can feel I've got a good edge on that. Now some would say our chisel more blunt force than finesse, but nonetheless, it's good to have a good edge there. All right, here's a bit of an obscure tool, a French edger. Now I don't use this very often, but again, similar set of instructions, but I'm going to draw this across my strop. Now, with a lot of our sharpening, as our tools move through our leather, they're going to pick up proteins. Just like a ship moving through the ocean, it's going to get debris, barnacles on it. So really what we're doing is about 70% sharpening and about 30% cleaning. The reason I say that is I've got a hard flat edge right there. So what I want to do is take just a thin strap, same width as my cutting edge, going to keep my handle low, and I can simply draw that across just enough to clean off the top side of that edge. Now, it's a tough tool to control, but I'm going to do my best. So let's bring that in. Yeah, look how much leather that's taking off. Look at that, right down to a feathered edge. That is a sharp tool. All right, moving over to our swivel. Now with this, folks online, 6, 7, and 8 levels of sandpaper, all manner of contraptions to hold this at the right angle. With me, I'm not looking to cut through my leather. I want a sharp edge there, but not say like a hunting knife or a cutting knife in our kitchen. So what I can do is I can feel that edge right there. And I'm going to do my best simply to hold my hand at that angle. So I'm going to draw that across 3 or 4 times, flip, do the same thing. Now with this, one thing I need to be cautious of is I don't want to put too much pressure left or right. What that's going to do is going to soften the inside here, and the outside here is going to give me a rough cut or a very wide cut. That's not what I'm looking for. All right, let's move over to our last 2 tools. Now, a round knife or head knife. It's not a knife I use a lot. In fact, a lot of folks say once you go to a round or a head, you never go back to anything. It's 3 tools in one. We've got a skiver, an edger, and a knife. The thing with this though, we're going to tend to use our outer edges the most. So when we strop, we need to pay a little extra attention there, but it never hurts to work all the way around. Then we flip, same thing. And there we go. All right, so round head, again, not one I use quite often, but look at that edge. Quick, clean, and easy cutting. All right. Love to keep that in the sleeve because that's a lot of blade on my table. Now, the last item we're going to look at are our end punches, round, oblong, and English. Okay, the problem here is that we've got a lot of edge here. We can absolutely strop our outside and work this around, and that's going to keep a good edge on us. But here's one trick, and again, sales pitch. We've got a service, very inexpensive, where we'll sharpen your tools for you. Give you a very professional edge. But again, always, certainly can strop, but we've got a beveled edge on the inside. So that's one thing that's going to be tough to get to. But again, we can keep a good edge on that simply by working it across our strop. An absolute expert on sharpening the head, the round, and the swivel, I am not. You can absolutely take those to the next level. But for the majority of us, this is going to help us keep very clean, very sharp tools. That's the point. Ease and outcome. A sharp tool makes the whole process easier and the outcome much more professional. That's the point. I hope this is good information for you. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.